Good morning. Welcome to today's application to vary a premises licence. My name is Councillor Anthony Kelly, and I'll be chairing today's meeting with my colleagues, Councillor Rima Bacchini and Councillor Julian Gallant. We are today's licensing subcommittee. The matter before is an application to vary a premises licence at the office owned by trading as the office at 17 Oldfield Circus, Northolt, Middlesex, UB5 4RR. I'm also joined by Hatun Zeb, who is a legal advisor to the subcommittee, and also observing in her team is Nisla Jaggi. We've also got Sean O'Brien, who's Democratic Services Officer, who is clerk to the subcommittee, who will be minuting the meeting. And also we have Makisha Grant from the Democratic Services team. In accordance with procedure, I'll invite the applicant to present the application, answer any questions or call upon any witnesses, and then invite those who have made representations to make them and answer any questions and call upon any witnesses. At the conclusion of the hearing, the subcommittee, accompanied by the legal advisor and committee Democratic Services Officer, will retire to consider its decision. The decision will be given at the end of the meeting and confirmed in writing. If the panel cannot reach a decision today, you'll be notified of such within 5 working days. So, Mr. Stephen Hill, if you'd like to introduce yourself and introduce the application, sir. Thank you. And I just realised I didn't have my video on, and nobody told me, but there we are. I'm sure that will stand fine. Mr. Hill?
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay. My name's Stephen Hill. Morning, everybody. I represent the applicants on this matter, and as you say, it's an application to vary the hours on the Friday and Saturday. Mr. O'Sullivan will partake as the part of the application and give evidence to the committee as to why the application should be granted. At the end of that, no doubt there, as you say, Councillor, there will be there will be questions from the 2 objectors, and from there, I assume I will be able to just make a closing speech rounding the matter up, if that is acceptable to yourselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. But yeah, that's generally happening. But obviously, before we sort of get to the point where we're asking questions, could you just sort of set out a summary of the variation?
Yes, indeed.
So you know what's in place now and what you're seeking to be in place.
Right, so what we have in place at the moment, and it may well be that Mr. O'Sullivan deals with this and then deals with exactly to go further forward. So it probably more sense for me to introduce him right at the outset so that he can explain to you what he wants to do and the history of the whole matter.
Mr. O'Sullivan, thank you.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. At present, we operate and have operated for the past 2 years this premises with 11 o'clock licence, drinks licence, 11:30 closing. We initially contacted the police about making a later application. They said because of previous problems with the previous owner that they would resist that. So we decided to trade for 2 years to prove what sort of operator we are. So I'm quite happy now to run through our background and run through the application. I've personally been in the licensed trade for 35 years, and my family and myself own and operate 24 pubs in the north and west quarter of London and others in the home counties reaching out to Slough, Chesham and Oxford. I'm operations managers for all 24 sites. Of the 24 pubs, 18 of them have licences varying between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. 2 of those late licences are in the Borough of Ealing, one being the Leather Saddle in West Ealing, the other being the Three Wishes in Greenford. 2 further ones have 3 a.m. licences, one in the Brick Art House in Slough and the General's Arms in Chesham. We're very experienced late bar operators and have never had a licence reviewed or our hours reduced. We feel the police from the outset have been opposed to this application because of how a previous inexperienced owner operated the premises, and that we are being punished for their actions. That the police have brought up examples of their actions within their representations. The previous operator is subject to licence conditions 10 and 11 and is not to have any involvement in the premises. But he is also mentioned in our lease as the freeholder will not allow him on the premises even to attend as a customer. So he has no involvement with these premises. The only contact we've ever had with the licensed officer, Vicky Hewson, was between April and June 21. This is when we spoke to her about possibilities of applying for a late licence, and she said at the time that they wouldn't support it. We took the lease on anyway and decided to run it for two years to prove that we are good operators. The only ever time we've had any interaction with Vicky is when she attended our premises on the 20th of February 24 to request some CCTV for an unrelated incident that happened nearby. This CCTV was provided. After we received the police representation, we reached out to negotiate them by way of email on the 7th of May, to which we've had no response. We've never had any contact with Joseph Pearson before this application. However, we did hear from his colleague, Mr. Shane Elliott, who wrote a letter to us on the 12th of March 2024. And then after engaging with him, he told us that the complaint was about shutters being banged in the early hours of the morning and possible out-of-hours drinking. We said that we would investigate, which we did by way of unannounced visits to the premises at approximately 11:30 p.m. and checking CCTV of the premises for the previous few weeks. And we found no evidence of out-of-hours drinking or banging on shutters. Mr. Elliott also said that the council would be monitoring the situation for breaches. We've heard nothing from them since. We did engage with Joseph Pearson once we received the representation, asked for him for copies of any noise nuisance complaints that have occurred within our ownership. He directed us to the Freedom of Information Department, who replied to us stating that the reply would take 20 working days. We pointed this out to Mr. Pearson that he must have this information to hand and would he please share it with us. Since that email on the 1st of May, he's ignored any correspondence we've had with him. On the 3 alleged complaints that are brought up in the representations, on the banging of the shutters, as I've already said, we've checked our CCTV and visited the premise. We found no evidence of this banging to be on our shutters, but it must be pointed out that we are on a commercial parade and numerous properties have shutters to the rear. On complaint number 2, that someone was chased out of the premises with a knife. We know nothing about this event. No one has ever approached us about it, and the police report itself said that the person was incoherent, uncompliant, and the police on the night knocked on the premises that evening and found the premises to be locked and shut. On point number 3 that was raised, where the ambulance crew had to attend the premises for a person that had fallen and banged their head and sustained a cut. This actually did happen. We're aware of it. It's recorded in our incident book. This was a private party that was held for a family, and all drinks were paid for prior. When the individual sustained the injury, because it was a head injury and for his health and safety, we deemed it necessary to call an ambulance. The police only attended on the ambulance crew's request. we presume this is because it's a licensed premises and a late hour. That is our application, so.
And I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yes. Mr. O'Sullivan, if you can just, if I can ask you a couple of further points. What you have at the moment, what are the core hours?
Mhm.
And your application is for Friday night and Saturday for 2:30 in the morning.
That is
Yeah,
our
I mean,
application.
I mean, Mr. Simon, just sort of, obviously the stuff you've raised now will I'm sure be examined through the questioning process. But if you could just sort of, in a sense, lay out your vision for why you've done this, why you put this application in, what it is you've been doing now, and how what you're proposing to do, in your business, and obviously any mitigation that you're going to put, to allay our concerns about the licensing objectives. So you're proposing to open at this time on this day for this reason, and this is what you're going to do in order to uphold the licensing objectives. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've made a. Sorry.
If I can say, Chair,
Yeah.
we have taken over premises which for some period were shut due to the problems that were there.
I know. The thing is, we could be going through this a lot quicker, and so what do you want to do, Mr. Sullivan? You want to just tell me what the times that you're closing now, and the times you want to close should this application be granted, sir?
Yeah, right. We made an application to stay open on a Friday and Saturday till 2:30. We have since the application found out that the Witherspoons pub, which is 150 yards away, has a 1 a.m. licence, and Tiffany's has a 1 a.m. licence. We have felt that we've been losing out to trade, and the venue isn't trading at the levels it should be, and that's why we made the application. But we are happy to concede and reduce the application to 1 a.m. so it matches what our competitors have.
Okay.
This premises used to have a 1 o'clock licence. The freeholder operated it then a Mr. Walsh operated it, and he operated it. He was a part-time publican, and he operated it in a manner that the police did have problems, and we recognise that. But we're not the reason for those problems.
Okay.
As far as the licence objectives, the prevention of crime disorder.
Sorry, you don't need to read them out. You don't need to read them out. It's fine. That's fine. Yeah, we'll get to that. But that's really useful, Mr. Sullivan.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do now, Mr. Hill, Mr. Sullivan, I'm going to go to questions. These will be questions, and so if you could sort of just remind the police, the noise team, to ask questions of Mr. O'Sullivan and Mr. Hill. Sergeant Kassar, we go to the police team first. Do you have questions for Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, Chair. Good morning to one and all. So, from our side of things, can you hear me?
It's not
Yes.
great, but it's okay. It's okay. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear all the words, Mr. Kassar, all the words, but very slowly. So,
All right.
expletives can be also be
Good
understood.
morning, Chair, and Mr. O'Sullivan, and everybody else. With regards to, so whilst we yeah, okay.
Questions to Mr. Hill and Mr. Sullivan, please. Okay, I'm going to go to the noise team while Mr. Kassar tries to perhaps work on his on his IT issue. Evelina, questions to Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, please. Good morning. It's Evelina Kaczowka. I'm the noise officer, and I'm attending here on behalf of Mr. Pearson, who is currently on leave, and he originally submitted the representation. Can I please ask the applicant about the capacity of the pub? How many people you can fit into the pub?
There is no defined capacity on our licence. We believe a safe capacity for the premises is approximately 65 people.
Okay. And are you taking into consideration the smoking area as well, or is that just inside the pub?
That is just inside the pub.
At the pub, okay, thank you. And can I please ask you about your the operation of the business? What are your busiest hours the pub is operating?
It's a community local. It's generally quite consistent but quiet trade throughout the week. Our busiest hours are later on a Friday and Saturday evening, but we're finding that patrons are leaving our pub maybe at 10 o'clock to go to the venues that are closer by that have a later licence, i.e. the Witherspoons and Tifties.
Okay, thank you. And how many staff members do you usually have on shift on a Friday, Saturday evening when the pub is fairly busy, I would say?
If we were going to have an event, it would be, when I say an event, if it was, let's say, a 30th or 40th birthday party, we would have 4 members of staff. But on a normal evening, we would have 3 members of staff.
Thank you. And we are talking about the front of staff, front of the house members, yeah?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. And I would say last question. Can you tell me when you last time have held a forum or any sort of engagement with the local residents, please?
It's a condition on our licence. We had a notice in the window when we first took on the premises, inviting any members of the public that would like to meet with us as the new owners. And we've had no uptake on that. And I think it should be pointed out that no members of the public have objected to this application as well today.
Okay. Thank you. I have no more questions.
Thank you.
You're on mute, Chair.
Sergeant Kassar, are you able to ask questions, Mr. Sullivan, now? Let's give it a second. Sergeant? Sergeant? Sergeant?
We're going to win
Sergeant?
Morning, Chair. I think there's issues with my laptop or connection. If you can't, and just go through my questions.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead. Let's not worry about the camera, but I can hear both of you. But maybe if you turn the camera off, it might help. Probably it might. Yeah.
Okay, then is that better?
That's fine. That's very good.
All right.
Yeah. Questions to Mr. Sullivan? Mr.
Serious
Sullivan?
apology.
Sergeant Kassar, if you could just ask the questions. You don't need to apologise.
Okay.
Questions, please.
All right. Mr. O'Sullivan, so with regards to the late night, how many SIA will you be having on the Saturday and the Friday?
It is intended that each night would be risk assessed, and if we felt that the premises was going to be at full capacity, then we would employ an SIA security on that evening. Such special events would be like, as I've previously said, 30th or 40th or 50th birthday parties.
Okay, and in terms of your venue, what is the capacity?
So 65, that was covered by the noise team. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I mean,
Chair.
there's no official, but that's sort of what Mr. O'Sullivan.
All right. And in terms of if any form of crime and disorder were to occur, what dispersal policy would you have in place, Mr. O'Sullivan?
Well, we have a dispersal policy for the end of the evening, which includes 30 minutes before the last sale of alcohol. The music levels will be brought down and lighting levels will be gradually increased. Once our terminal hour for alcohol is reached, all the staff would go out from behind the bar to collect glasses and encourage patrons politely to drink up. There's also signage reminding patrons to leave quietly and respect our neighbours. We'll also have a number for a local taxi firm, although we find now that the majority of customers use Uber. And we find this very beneficial because they don't have to leave the premises and wait outside. They can monitor their own car on their handheld device. It's got the registration of the car, and they don't have to leave the premises to go outside and wait. They can go outside and get straight in their car. This obviously takes away any problems, someone accidentally getting in the wrong minicab. We find it a very useful tool in our trade now, the Uber app.
Thank you. And then with regards to your demographic, because I would assume that your Monday to Thursday, you've got a slightly different demographic of clientele in terms of age group attending to the Friday and the Saturday. Is that one of the reasons you're looking to extend the hours? And when I mean demographic, I'm talking age groups here.
Yes, I understand. Yes. Certainly during the day, we do have an older demographics, but in the evenings, the after work crowd is patrons from early 20s up to 50, 60. These are the same patrons that use the premises on a Friday and Saturday night, but they're also the same patrons that are leaving us at 9 o'clock to go to the later venues, i.e. Tifties and the Witherspoons.
All right. And then in terms of bar staff, were a conflict to arise within the premises, what type of conflict management training do you give your bar staff? And how many bar staff do you have behind your the bar itself at the time?
If we believe, as I've already stated, that if we believe that it's going to be a full venue that evening, there will be 4 staff. On a normal Friday and Saturday night, there'd only be 3 staff. Full capacity would be something if we get a pre-booked party or event, let's say the 30th or a 40th or a 50th birthday party. Obviously, the DPS is fully trained that if there are incidents, depending on the severity of the incident, if it's a simple disagreement, a drink has been spilled, we will provide replacement drinks free of charge and diffuse the situation that way. If it's something that escalates and it requires reporting to the police or police presence, they will, of course, then dial 999 and contact yourselves. And it is dealt on a not events, but
case by case.
Case by case. Sorry, that's the word I was looking for.
Yeah,
case by case. They're deemed that if it's something that can be resolved in house, it's something simple. If there was a persistent offender that was being a general nuisance and upsetting other customers, they would be barred from the premises.
Okay. And in terms of serving alcohol, which we all know can lead to things escalating and leading to crime and disorder or public nuisance. In terms of responsibility to people who are inebriated, how does that get managed by the bar staff?
Well, we have a health and safety manual that extends to 40 pages. There is a section in there about not serving anyone that they deem to be under the influence of alcohol. Anyone that you suspect is under 21, to ask them for ID. We will have free iced water available to patrons, and anyone, as I said, that we deem to be under the influence or underage will not be served.
And then another thing that we do have a concern about is one of our colleagues from the council received an email from a resident from the community safeties team about lock-ins. Are you, from your perspective, because I understand you own the business, but are you aware of that, or in terms of lock-ins, it was quite concerning to us from a policing perspective that we got an email from a local resident to the community safeties team, and that would almost, well, to us, that would indicate that it's kind of a disregard for your current licensing hours. So what do you say to that, sir?
I'm aware of the email. It was sent Shane Elliott from local council. We did engage with him once we got the email. We said to him that sorry?
I didn't say anything.
Apologies. We did engage with them as soon as we received the email. We told them that we, as the owners, would make unannounced visits, which we did do on 2 occasions, both of them being past 11:30, and found no evidence. On the last visit, it was me personally that went, and the DPS questioned why I was there at such an hour, and I made her aware of the alleged complaint, and she said, "Well, why don't you just check the CCTV?" So that's what we did. The next working day, we've got 30 days of CCTV. I went back through previous weeks and found no evidence of late night drinking there.
Okay, thank you very much. No more questions from us.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Sergeant. So we don't have anybody. The noise and nuisance and police team have raised some questions. Thank you for the answers, Mr. O'Sullivan. So we go to panel councillors, i.e. myself, Councillor Becklini and Gallant. Councillor Gallant, do you have any questions for Mr. O'Sullivan?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. I was going to ask about the lock-ins, just for the sake of precision. That I've got on that it was on the 3rd of April 2024. It was Yasmin Basterfield, a Safer Communities leader, who forwarded the email dated the 28th of February, in which the resident complained about the lock-ins. That's what I've got, and I just wanted to check that that's correct. But you've answered about the lock-ins. The other question I had: you want to supply alcohol off the premises, for sale off the premises. Can you just explain why you want to do that, and how you're going to mitigate, or you propose to mitigate, anything adverse that stems from that? That would be great. Sorry, I think I was just...
No, let him do that first.
Yeah,
Julian.
all right, okay.
Yeah. Obviously, we feel this is a pub that's under trading, and obviously we're looking for any revenue streams where we can get them. The reason we're looking for off sales, it's events, let's say, for instance, the Euros that are coming up, where you might have some people who come for drinks at the pub, decide that they're going to go home and have a barbecue and watch the football at home, that we have the facility to sell them a crate of beer for their barbecue or party. And literally, that is the reason that we're looking for extra ways that we can improve the revenue streams. We do have off sales in all our other venues.
Okay, so what happens if an Uber driver or that kind of delivery service came in? Would you sell alcohol via that service?
No, only directly to customers of ours that are leaving, that are possibly going on to a barbecue.
Okay, so it would be limited. It would be limited to people who are leaving the pub, wanting to take some alcohol home with them.
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
that's useful. Thank you very much. Chair, can I ask about these?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? I don't want to steal your thunder.
Keep going. No.
Can I ask about the extra days on holidays that are not UK
fine.
holidays or weekends?
Yeah.
You
Go
said
ahead.
you want to adjust the timetable for that. Do you not feel that would be better served by, if you're not talking about weekends or set public holidays, it would be better served by temporary event notices?
Sorry, is that question for me?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Sullivan. So just to clarify, you've also applied, which legitimately you're allowed to do, for extended hours on St George's Day, so
Good.
bank holidays and St George's Day and St Patrick's Day.
Mhm. Yeah, that is how we all our applications, all our licenses and all our pubs. That is a standard hours that we ask for on those days. If the committee sees fit that should be dealt with by ways of tens, then obviously
Sure.
we'll accept that.
So I mean, just sort of to, yeah, I'm sort of now stealing Councillor Gallant's thunder, but there's something that we brought up in the pre-agenda meeting. So bank holidays are widely recognised as such. They're times when people don't go to work the next day. So therefore, places opening late are reasonably expected to open late. But St George's Day and St Patrick's Days are not bank holidays. So if we were minded to grant the license, I see the bank holidays as being very much part of that late night offer, but not St George's Day and St Patrick's Day, because they're not bank holidays. So I understand the cultural significance, particularly of St Patrick's Day around your demographics, but equally it may not apply to the whole area. In a sense, the rest of the world are going to get up in the morning. So
Can I come back to you on that, please, Mr. Kelly? If that is the way the committee, if they were minded to grant a license, would like those 2 days dealt with by tens, we'd accept that. But I'd like to point out that those conditions are on our existing license.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Chair, those are on. Sorry, I was just been checking the existing premises license. Those are already on there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What, St Patrick's and St George's?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Christmas Eve, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, Patrick's and St George's. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll take that into Councillor Gallant. Just before I go to Councillor McCleany, did you have anything else?
No, that's fine. Thanks very much. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor McCleany, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask Mr. Sullivan, how will he manage the off sales while ensuring that customers do not consume alcohol outside the premises, please?
Sorry, so do you mean that if we were to sell them beer, that they won't consume it outside the premises?
Yeah, and won't congregate outside the premises.
I mean, just to give you sort of a picture. So at 11 o'clock, the off license is closed. If I remember rightly, there's at least three off licenses in Oldfield Circus. So with the greatest respect to your offer, I would imagine people will go for their crates of beer to those off licenses in that area, unless you're really, 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 really competitive, and which is fine. But then after 11 o'clock, all the off licenses are closed except for one, i.e. your premises. So how do you stop that street, person coming in, buying a street drink, just give us an idea of
how will you stop your clients from buying the off-license alcohol and not staying outside the premises?
Thank you. I understand. I understand your question. Obviously, within our health and safety manual, our staff have to do regular sweeps of toilet areas, the pub area and the outside areas. If we found that someone had bought some drinks for off sales and was congregating outside, we would tell them they have to return to the venue if they want to drink the drinks then. Obviously not if it's past 1 a.m. If it's past 1 a.m, we would tell them that, look, you have to return, you have to move on, you can't congregate around the premises after 1 a.m. If there was a persistent or well, not even persistent, a repeat offender, we would bar them from the premises. But as something that might be helpful to the committee, you could maybe limit our off-sales hours to 10 or 11 p.m.
That would be
if
really,
that helps.
yes, because I heard you state that you would be selling off licenses to people going to have barbecues.
Correct.
So it would be only reasonable to limit the hours of sales of off-license sales. I think it would be reasonable.
If the committee think that that is the right thing to do, we will abide by that.
Thank you, Chair. I have no further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Lynn, I know of you, so to speak. Given the area I represent, and is it the Three Wishes or the other one you own in Greenford Broad?
Three issues.
Three Wishes. And there's sort of like a mirror offer directly opposite, and
yeah, we used to own that. That was the Wishing Well. That's now owned by Stonegate.
Yeah. So and this place and that place and places around Harrow, etc., etc. So I understand that you're an experienced operator, but are you currently a director of Beer Mansion? Are you still in control of Beer Mansions?
I am I'm an operations manager for all 24 sites. I have a financial investment in all of the sites. Myself and my daughter Chloe, who's the applicant who is here today, we are the sole people in charge, but the DPS is on site. So the DPS is on site. So you and your daughter, yeah? Yes, Chloe? That's correct. Yeah, you're sort of your sort of overview of the whole place and etc. So the DPS that's in place now, and will you're proposing to continue as the DPS at the office? Yes. I can't confirm that because we've had some stock issues. It's got nothing to do with the licensing. We've had some stock issues. And should we get the later license, there's a possibility that we might move another one of our managers to that venue.
Well, that's sort of be the next. Well, that's sort of, so really that I was trying to get to is that you've got that sort of, fluidity within your organization. So, you're sort of a chain of pubs, but an independent chain. Would that be sort of fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah. So, okay. That's fine. So obviously I'm familiar with the one in Greenford Broadway and others that you've had in the past, and but I'm also familiar with the office, having been the ward councillor there up until 2022. So I wasn't part of the application to review the license back then, because the council for their ward can't sit on those applications. But obviously there is anecdotal stuff that I remember about Oldfield Circus generally. So in terms of noise, which I think is really, I haven't really heard anything about crime or disorder, but it's more about noise. So it's that whole thing. It's often about as much what the staff do as the clients. So things like emptying. How do you dispose of your bottles?
The bottles are disposed of by way of a biffa bin. We do have that they can't be disposed of between before 9 a.m. in the morning, and after 9 a.m. in the evening.
Yeah, so you can only okay. So that's really important because I saw with my own eyes bottles from the office being piled into bins and residents telling me that this was going on late at night. Now it's a long time ago. It might have been 2014. It's a long time ago, but it's important. That's the type of thing that sort of can create you know, you can lose goodwill by one inexperienced member of staff coming out and chucking the bottles out at 2 o'clock because he thinks it's only half an hour after closing up time, where it shouldn't be done at all. So that's really important that there's no misunderstanding about these types of things. Yes. So you get Biffa. Is it a daily collection? No troubles with access?
No, we've got no troubles with access. It is a weekly collection.
Yeah.
The Biffa truck normally comes between the hours of 9 and 6.
Yeah.
We've had, and I do recognise some of the things you're saying about, and that was about how the previous operator operated.
Yeah. That's fine. So it's 9 o'clock to 9 till 9, and you'll even try to do it before that. I mean, something one can do around lunchtime before you open, really, isn't it?
What we say, the 9 to 9 is the curfew we have on our own staff, but Biffa attend the premises usually between 9 and 6 on a working day to tip, because obviously that's when it makes its loudest noise, is when it's being tipped into the lorry. But when we're tipping in, let's say 20, 30 bottles into the Biffa bin, that's restricted, not before 9 in the morning and not after 9 at night.
Okay, that's good. Fine. I don't believe I have any questions. Obviously, I always reserve the right to ask something if I need to. It comes up. But so let me just bring up my. Bear with me. Okay. Right. So, police, if you'd like to make your representations now, please.
Thank you, Chair. From our side of things, just in summation, whilst Mr. O'Sullivan has answered the questions pertinently, we're just concerned with the extension of the hours and the sale of alcohol, people becoming more inebriated. It could lead to crime and disorder in terms of violence, etc. There have been 2 historical incidents which Mr. O'Sullivan has alluded to and has been put into the representation. So for
you've faded away there, Mr. Sergeant. So.
For us, that is just a major concern, that if we extend the hours to 3 o'clock or 2:30 in the morning, that this may lead to the public nuisance. Sorry, Chip, was that did you say couldn't hear me?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting most of it. It's difficult to even sort of point out where we heard up to.
We are quite happy for 1:30. I don't know if that's been missed.
So, Chair, so all I was saying was that due to the extension of the hours, it could lead to more public nuisance and crime and disorder due to people getting inebriated.
No.
And
well, let me ask you a question. So,
affecting local residents' quality of life around there. So that is our main concern with regards to our representation.
Okay, thank you. You need not respond to that, Mr. Hill or Mr. Sullivan. You can do that in your. Thank you. Yeah, okay. You can clarify your application in your representation.
Did you get that, Chair?
Yes, we did. Thank you very much, Sergeant Kassar. Evelina from the noise team.
Thank you, Chair. So the Council's noise team decided to object to the application due to extensive history of noise complaints lodged by the local residents against the premises. Whilst we acknowledge that the vast majority of complaints were logged whilst the pub remained under different management, there are still concerns reported to us, such as allegations referring to the pub operating outside of the licensable hours, or noise complaints logged back in April 2023. During numerous monitoring visits late at night into complainants' homes, it was established that close proximity and the design and layout of the pub, especially the presence of the rear licensable area, so-called smoking area, is partially open, what makes it difficult or impossible to curtail the noise levels emanating from there, even if additional supervision was proposed. So this is the most problematic bit for us. So there is no way to mitigate noise levels from the rear. And the applicant stated in his applications that they will monitor the rear area to the best of their ability. However, current license is quite thorough and limits the number of patrons present to the rear after 10 p.m. or the area shouldn't be used until after 10 p.m. So as mentioned in our original representation, the area is densely populated with at least 45 flats situated within the neighboring Palmer Court. And I just wanted to remind the committee that Palmer Court is an affordable housing, so there are quite a few families living within Palmer Court. There are more residential premises above the pub and the parade of shops. All those dwellings are considered as sensitive receptors. The pub primarily serves alcohol and attracts a considerable number of people, which can give rise to public nuisance. Extending the hours will encourage patrons to stay longer, drink more. This could lead to antisocial behavior, increase in noise levels, patrons raising their voices. We witnessed in the past patrons having arguments at the back of the premises, urinating. There were problems with street drinkers, especially now if the license was granted for the off sales. We foresee this as a major issue. So therefore, we are strongly objecting to the extension of the opening hours and proposing not to vary the current premises license, especially conditions number 20 to 13 and 38 to 51 that are referring to public nuisance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sorry, Evelina, I've got a question for you. It's not a term I've heard before, or a phrase I've heard before, sensitive receptors. Obviously, I'm familiar with Palmer Courts. Several years ago, it used to be a Skoda garage, and so it's sort of less than 20 years old, and the flats above there. So you say there's sensitive receptors, but there's nothing in terms of tenure. It's general tenure. It's not special. There's no sort of vulnerable people there, special people who are under any sort of ward of the council. How? I mean, everyone's a sensitive. Everyone's a sensitive receptor. I'm just trying to work out what you meant by that. So
I would say sensitive receptors are the nearest residential premises located to the bar, to the premises. Therefore, it is assumed that the nearest sensitive receptors might be affected adversely by the operation of if it is either a licensed premises or a warehouse or trading estate. So by saying sensitive receptors, I mean nearest residential property to the venue.
Yeah, because you sort of talked about them being a particular sort of demographic.
Because they are very close. Very close to the pub. So they're as close as 10 meters away. So there are premises right above the right above the office pub. And as I said in my representation, they are all surrounded. There are at least 47 flats within Palmer Court. So they are, for us, the nearest sensitive receptors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So this is just bring up my thing again. So stuff keeps coming up on my screen, so I need to bring to my.
Chair, I think this is the opportunity for Mr. Hill and Mr.
Yeah.
O'Sullivan to ask any
Yeah.
questions of Evelina's
Correct.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Terry and Stephen, do you have any sort of questions you'd like to ask the objectors? But obviously you've got an opportunity to sum up at the last stage as well.
Thank you, Chair. One of the questions I'd like to ask about this, and I think you've hit upon this, is this sensitive receptors. These are just the local flats that are there at the moment, and none of these people, as I understand it, have come forward to make any comment or objection whatsoever about this application or communicated with the noise team. Is that correct?
We received a noise complaint back in 2023. That was on the 15th of April. That was 5,900 hours, about very loud voices, swearing and loud talking from the garden. And that was the time when the rear garden shouldn't be used as per the current license. So they made their representation to us on the date I just mentioned. I cannot comment why they have not made the representations to the licensing team. That's entirely up to the residents.
So that actually was not mentioned in here, was it? Or have I missed that somewhere? There were the three complaints: the banging on the shutters,
just maybe perhaps a bit more into the mic, Mr. Hill, sort of. Yeah, if you could sort of face.
The three complaints were about banging on the shutters.
No, we've got that. It was you speaking. We've got the text. It's just you speaking into the camera, so to speak. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. This April 23 is not mentioned at all before, or was ever followed up or dealt with.
So this report was made at the time of disturbance when our team was operating. So they phoned up the resident, but they couldn't attend to verify the allegations as the service was just ending. So it is on our records, and as it was discussed before, it would have been disclosed to the applicant should our Freedom of Information Department request this info as per the procedure.
Yes, I mean, the event in April 24 that was mentioned was actually when we did get a reply on the Freedom of Information, which you are aware of, was the banging on the shutters is all we got, and the April 24 complaint, which was actually us complaining about noise.
No, we do have on our records the complaint I just mentioned on the 15th of April 2023 at 11 p.m. So it does exist.
Okay. Well, we can't comment because we know nothing about it, so it's very difficult.
Okay. Any other questions, Mr. Hill?
No, I don't think so. Other than to say that you're aware that literally the Wetherspoons pub with a similar license to what we're applying for is literally 150 yards away.
Yeah, sure.
So similarly, in a reseential or
yeah.
Uses this
you can use that in your summing up.
Yes, I will.
You can refer to that, no problem. Okay. Any questions to the police, Mr. Hill? But I think you've.
Sorry, Mr. Kelly. Can I ask the noise pollution?
Yeah.
Question, please. Are you aware of complaints being made about a flat on the top floor of our building holding regular parties till 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning? We ourselves were a complainant, and one of our managers left because they couldn't get any sleep. Are you aware of those complaints?
I'm more than happy to check our records, but at the present time, I cannot confirm this information because I'm not the case officer for the area, but I'm more than happy to run through our records and check that for you.
So she's not
Okay.
she's not aware, but yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and anything to the police team, Mr. Hill?
Well, it would.
I mean, I don't want sort of rhetoric questions.
No,
Yeah, so if you're very.
I think no. The police team is more a statement than a.
Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. Right. So really, we go to sort of summing up now, where again the police can go, the noise can go. Again, you don't need, if you've got nothing further to add, that's absolutely fine. I would just need to give the opportunity, and then we'll go to Mr. O'Sullivan and Mr. Hill last. Please, anything to add in summing up, Mr. Kassar, bearing in mind of your IT issues?
Thank you, Chair. No, just in line with what we've put in the representation in the document, and also just what we alluded to, the fact that due to the minor variation in the hours on the Friday and the Saturday, our main concern is due to the extension of the hours, that it could lead to dropping two of the licensing objectives through people being drunk or inebriated of public nuisance and crime and disorder. And to sum up, that's just our main concern, Chair.
Thank you very much, Sergeant. And Evelina?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to stress that the main issue for us is the use of the rear smoking area. So we strongly believe that this area should, the use of the area should be limited to a few individuals at the time. Due to character of the noise emanating from that would be normally whooping, loud talking, arguments, that's impulsive sounds that then wake up residents who are asleep at midnight or 1 a.m. whilst the pub will be operating should the license be granted. So yes, so I would just like to point out that the rear the use of the rear area is the most problematic bit, and we would like to limit the use of it ideally should the license be granted.
Thank you. So Mr. Hill and Mr. Sullivan, this is the opportunity to sum up.
Chair, may I ask Mr. O'Sullivan, who's obviously not with me, as you appreciate, to just that last point raised by your noise lady, sorry to call her that, about the rear smoking area, wasn't really gone through earlier, and I wonder if Mr. O'Sullivan could just touch upon that then, because what, as I understand it, is being said is she's concerned about the rear smoking area should be limited to a few individuals, and I believe, and I'm scanning my papers, it's limited to 6, I think, at the moment, talking. And really, Mr. O'Sullivan perhaps needs to answer that particular point, as it's not been addressed in earlier comments.
Okay, Ms. Van, don't worry, it doesn't have to be absolutely your last chance, but what I'm saying is, if you want to just confirm the smoking area arrangements and then sum up.
I will do. I will.
Right. Yes, at present we are allowed 6 patrons there. I take on board what the noise team have said. They've suggested a limit of 2 people, and if the committee were minded to grant this, we could operate that there would be restricted to 2 people outside. In addition, as I've already said, that we are prepared, as we did try to negotiate with the noise team and the police, to roll back our applications, that it's 1 o'clock for sale of drinks and 1:30 for drinking up time. And should the committee be minded to grant, we would be happy to roll back our application to those hours. I think that's all I have to say, Mr. Hill.
Mr. Hill, anything to add?
Yes, I think in summary, it's this, isn't it? The client and myself are aware that we are asking for hours outside of the council's core hours on the application, which, as you know, has now been rolled back to a 1 o'clock and a 1:30. You obviously have to consider the application on its merits. We would say that we can demonstrate as a tried and tested operator, and indeed, Chair, you've alluded to this, we have numbers of outlets in Ealing, Hillingdon, Harrow, Brenton, Barnet and whatever. And we would say that we're a tried and tested operator, and accordingly the application should be granted. We have no history whatsoever of complaints or reviews or hours knocked back. And in fact, from the client's perspective, it certainly doesn't wish to have any, because we need and will in the future undoubtedly make applications either to you or other local authorities for licenses, and we don't wish to have blemishes on our character, because we wish to be able to stand before you as we do today to say simply, we know what we're doing. We run a very good operation. We have 24 outlets. 18 have late licenses. 2 have licenses till 3 a.m. in the morning. We have no issues. We understand what we need to do. We inherited a public house, which undoubtedly, and indeed you're aware of it, Chair, has had, or did have, numerous problems. In fact, the lease on these premises actually excludes the previous person even attending the premises, let alone operating them, which in my experience as a commercial lawyer is somewhat unusual, to put it mildly. So we wish to work with the community. There is no one here. They're objecting from the community. We don't wish to have issues with our neighbours. The 3 incidents that were referred to, Mr. O'Sullivan dealt with. The banging on the shutters, we can't really answer it. There's no CCT. It's very difficult for us to answer that, other than to say it could have been anyone. Somebody could have banged on our shutters, maybe. But, you know, there are numerous shutters of rear premises, as you would expect. The other complaint about somebody making a complaint about a knife, well, we have no information on that again. Again, it's very difficult for us to answer it because we have no information. And when the police turned up, no one was there. The third complaint was we called an ambulance because somebody fell over. Well, unfortunate, but that's what was the right thing to do. In fact, it would have been completely contrary to the objectives if we hadn't have actually done that. So going forward, we would say that it can and would affect the business if we can extend our hours to compete with, arguably, other people who have later hours, like the Tiffany's and the Wetherspoons pubs that we've alluded to. You obviously must consider the proximity to residential accommodation. We understand that. We don't want to have issues with our neighbours at all. We need to work together. And as I say, it should be noted that there's not been any public comments or anyone attending to object, only the noise team, which I would submit really has little, if any, evidence of any issues. The other issue that you must consider is obviously noise and nuisance, leaving the premises. Again, Mr. O'Sullivan dealt clearly with a dispersal plan. And again, we would reiterate what we've stated, that there's been no objections. The dispersal plan works. The Uber point is very good. So in the circumstances, we would say and believe that we've demonstrated that we have standards in place to support the licensing objectives, to deal with the conditions that are already on the licence, which are working by the very fact that there are no real complaints. The police comments are comments that you could make to any public house, any licensed premises, but with respect have no real substance on these premises because there is no evidence of ever being any problems or any police attendance at the premises to deal with anything. You have, as I say, a tried, tested, safe operator who doesn't wish to have any issues whatsoever. We would say that the conditions there on the licence adequately deal with the operation, the objectives. You've got the prevention of crime, which is dealt with in conditions 14 to 32, protection of children, conditions 52 to 54, nuisance at 38 to 51, and public safety 33 to 37. You have a 40-page health and safety documentation, a dispersal plan, capacities, risk assessments, and the system works. And I would submit to you that you can safely, in these circumstances, on the amended application, grant this application for the 1 o'clock with the 1:30 time on the Friday and Saturday. And that's my submission, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hill, Mr. Sullivan, and everybody else. Before we retire to consider, I just like to check. Do you think we've covered everything, Hattie?
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would predict that we are back here at quarter to 1. Well, no, let me think. Let's 1 o'clock on the dot, let's say. So if everybody could tune in at or log in or come back to the virtual room at 5 to 1 for a prompt start at 1 o'clock. Sergeant Cassar, we will wait for you at 1 o'clock, but obviously bear in mind that your IT has not been altogether great. So yeah, maybe if you could come back a bit sooner, but we'll endeavour to start at 1 o'clock on the dot.
I will do, Chair, and again,
Yeah.
sincerest apologies for the
No
technical.
worries. Yeah, we're all doing our best. That's all I ask. Thank you very much. So I'll see everybody